Top 20 Clinical Researcher Interview Questions and Answers. Welcome to our video on Top 20 Clinical Researcher Interview Questions and Answers, your ultimate guide to prepare confidently, demonstrate expertise, and succeed in your next clinical research interview. 1. Can you walk us through your experience in clinical research and your involvement in different phases of clinical trials? I have over X years of experience in clinical research, contributing to phases 1 to 4 trials. In early phase trials, I worked closely with site teams to ensure protocol adherence and safety monitoring. For phase 3 trials, I coordinated subject recruitment, data collection, and ensured compliance with regulatory guidelines. In phase 4, I helped track long-term safety and real-world effectiveness. My responsibilities included monitoring, documentation, training site staff, and liaising with sponsors. I've used EDC systems, conducted site initiation visits, and participated in protocol development. My role has grown from Clinical Research Coordinator to Clinical Research Associate, CRA, enhancing my project oversight skills. 2. What motivated you to pursue a career in clinical research? My passion for healthcare, science, and improving patient outcomes led me to clinical research. I've always been fascinated by the process behind medical advancements, and clinical research allows me to contribute to the development of safe and effective treatments. During my academic training, I was involved in research projects that ignited my interest in trial design, ethics, and data integrity. I appreciate the balance of scientific rigor and regulatory compliance that clinical research demands. Knowing that my work supports therapies that can change or save lives keeps me motivated and committed to this career path. 3. How do you stay updated with the latest regulations and guidelines, for example, ICH, GCP, FDA, EMA? I stay informed through continuous education, attending industry webinars, subscribing to regulatory newsletters like FDA updates and EMA publications, and reviewing ICH/GCP revisions. I'm also a member of professional organizations like CRP and SOCRA, which offer relevant resources and training. I regularly participate in internal compliance training sessions and regulatory workshops. Additionally, I engage with peer-reviewed journals and LinkedIn professional groups focused on clinical trials. Staying current with evolving global and regional regulations helps ensure that I apply best practices and maintain compliance across all phases of clinical trials. 4. Describe a clinical research project you worked on. What was your role and what were the outcomes? I worked on a phase 3 oncology trial testing a new chemotherapy combination. My role as a CRA involved site monitoring, reviewing CRFs for accuracy, ensuring protocol compliance, and managing regulatory documentation. I conducted site initiation visits, trained staff, and monitored patient safety reports. The trial faced initial recruitment challenges, so I collaborated with investigators to optimize enrollment strategies. Ultimately, we met our enrollment targets and achieved high data accuracy and protocol adherence. The trial results supported FDA approval of the therapy, and I was commended for my contributions to quality assurance and efficient site coordination. 5. What are the key differences between observational studies and interventional clinical trials? Observational studies involve monitoring participants without altering their treatment, aiming to identify correlations or risk factors. No interventions are assigned by investigators. In contrast, interventional clinical trials involve actively assigning treatments or interventions to participants to evaluate their effects. Interventional trials are more structured, with randomization, control groups, and blinding, aiming to establish causality. Observational studies are useful for epidemiological research, while interventional trials are essential for evaluating safety and efficacy. Both designs require ethical oversight, but interventional trials face stricter regulatory scrutiny due to the potential impact of experimental treatments on participants. 6. How do you ensure compliance with good clinical practice, GCP, guidelines in your work? Ensuring compliance with GCP guidelines is central to my clinical research practices. I begin by thoroughly reviewing the protocol, training site staff, and conducting regular monitoring visits. I verify informed consent, source data accuracy, and adherence to regulatory requirements. I maintain meticulous documentation and ensure that any deviations are promptly reported and addressed. Ongoing training, both personal and for site teams, keeps everyone updated on evolving GCP standards. I also conduct audits of site files, CRFS, and safety reports to identify compliance risks early. Consistent communication with investigators ensures protocol adherence and ethical conduct throughout the study. 7. Can you explain the importance of informed consent in clinical trials and how you verify it's properly obtained? Informed consent is a fundamental ethical and legal requirement in clinical trials. It ensures participants understand the study's purpose, procedures, risks, and their rights before voluntarily agreeing to participate. I verify that consent is obtained before any study procedures begin and that it is documented using an IRB-approved form. During monitoring visits, I review signed consent forms for completeness, correct version use, and date-time accuracy. I also interview site staff to confirm that discussions with participants occurred appropriately. If issues arise, I work with the site to retrain personnel and correct documentation in line with regulatory expectations. 8. What steps would you take if you discovered a protocol deviation during a trial? Upon identifying a protocol deviation, I first assess the nature and impact on participant safety and data integrity. I document the deviation in the monitoring report and notify the investigator immediately. I ensure that the deviation is recorded in the site file and, if required, reported to the sponsor and ethics committee. I work with the site to implement corrective and preventive actions, CAPA, to avoid recurrence. Depending on the severity, the deviation may be escalated internally. Clear documentation, root cause analysis, and thorough training are key to ensuring compliance and maintaining data quality. 9. How do you handle audits or inspections from regulatory authorities, for example, FDA, EMA? I prepare for audits and inspections by maintaining complete, organized, and up-to-date documentation, including the trial master file, TMF, and site files. I conduct internal audits and mock inspections to identify and resolve gaps early. During an inspection, I ensure that only requested documents are shared, responses are accurate, and team members are available for interviews. I remain calm, cooperative, and transparent, answering questions clearly and professionally. After the audit, I review the findings, implement corrective actions, and document all responses. Preparation, communication, and continuous compliance are key to successfully navigating inspections. 10. What are the essential documents required for a clinical trial master file, TMF? A well-maintained TMF is essential for demonstrating that the trial was conducted in compliance with GCP and regulatory requirements. Key documents include the trial protocol, investigator brochure, ethics approvals, informed consent forms, delegation logs, training records, monitoring visit reports, correspondence, SAE reports, and regulatory authority submissions. The TMF also includes essential agreements like contracts and financial disclosures. Documents are categorized by sections, e.g., trial management, site management, safety, and investigational product. I ensure the TMF is updated in real time and audited regularly. An inspection-ready TMF reflects the integrity and quality of the entire clinical trial process. 11. How do you design a clinical trial protocol? What key elements must be included? Designing a clinical trial protocol requires a clear understanding of the study objectives, patient population, and regulatory standards. Key elements include background and rationale, objectives, study design, methodology, inclusion/exclusion criteria, treatment plan, safety monitoring, statistical analysis, and ethical considerations. I collaborate with medical, regulatory, and biostatistics teams to ensure scientific integrity and feasibility. The protocol must also outline adverse event reporting, informed consent, and data handling procedures. I ensure it complies with ICH GCP guidelines and local regulations. A well-structured protocol is crucial for minimizing bias, ensuring patient safety, and achieving meaningful, reproducible results. 12. What factors do you consider when selecting study sites and investigators for a clinical trial? Site and investigator selection impacts trial success, so I consider several factors. These include the investigator's qualifications, prior clinical trial experience, patient recruitment capabilities, access to the target population, and facility infrastructure. I review past audit results, regulatory compliance history, and the site's ability to manage documentation and timelines. Communication skills and motivation of the investigator and staff are also important. Site feasibility assessments and pre-study visits help evaluate suitability. I prioritize sites with a proven track record of data quality, protocol adherence, and patient safety. These factors ensure efficient, compliant, and successful trial execution. 13. How do you determine sample size for a clinical study? Sample size is determined based on statistical power, effect size, significance level, and study objectives. Collaborating with biostatisticians, we define the primary endpoint, acceptable error margins, alpha and beta, and expected variability in the data. A larger sample size increases power, reducing the chance of type 2 errors, false negatives. If the sample is too small, results may lack statistical significance. If too large, resources may be wasted. We also consider dropout rates and protocol deviations when calculating the final sample size. Accurate determination ensures valid, interpretable results and ethical use of participant time and resources. 14. What are some common biases in clinical research and how do you mitigate them? Common biases include selection bias, performance bias, detection bias, and reporting bias. To mitigate these, I implement randomization and blinding wherever possible. Proper inclusion/exclusion criteria help minimize selection bias. Standardizing procedures and training reduces performance and detection bias. Predefined protocols and statistical plans limit analysis bias. Ensuring transparent reporting of all outcomes, including negative or inconclusive results, addresses reporting bias. I also use objective outcome measures and central adjudication committees when applicable. Vigilant monitoring, audits, and adherence to regulatory guidance further support bias reduction. Reducing bias is essential for maintaining the credibility and validity of clinical trial results. 15. What experience do you have with electronic data capture, EDC, systems and clinical trial databases? I have extensive experience using EDC systems such as Metadata Rave, Oracle Inform, and our EDC AP. I use these platforms to input, review, and validate data, ensuring accuracy and protocol compliance. My responsibilities include resolving data queries, performing remote monitoring, and generating data reports. I've trained site staff on system use and provided support during data entry issues. These systems improve efficiency, data integrity, and real-time monitoring. I understand the importance of audit trails and user access controls for regulatory compliance. My familiarity with these tools enhances data quality and contributes to timely, successful trial execution. 16. How do you ensure data integrity and quality in clinical research? Ensuring data integrity starts with accurate source documentation and robust training for site staff. I conduct routine monitoring visits to verify that data in the case report forms, CRFS, match source records. I resolve data discrepancies promptly and use edit checks within the electronic data capture, EDC, system to flag issues. Standard operating procedures, SOPs, version control, and audit trails help maintain consistency. I emphasize the importance of ALCOA principles: attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, accurate, periodic audits, centralized monitoring, and cross-functional quality checks further enhance data quality. These practices ensure reliable, regulatory compliant, and reproducible clinical trial outcomes. 17. Can you explain the difference between intent to treat, ITT, and per protocol, PP, analysis? Intent to treat, ITT, analysis includes all randomized participants, regardless of whether they completed the trial per protocol. It preserves randomization, reflects real-world scenarios, and helps prevent bias, offering a conservative estimate of treatment effect. In contrast, per protocol (PP) analysis includes only those participants who adhered strictly to the study protocol. It provides a more accurate estimate of efficacy under ideal conditions but may introduce selection bias. Both approaches are often reported together. ITT shows practical effectiveness, while PP evaluates treatment under optimal adherence. Understanding the differences helps interpret trial results comprehensively and guides regulatory and clinical decision-making. 18. Describe a time when you faced an ethical dilemma in a clinical trial. How did you handle it? During a trial, I noticed that a site had enrolled a participant who didn't fully meet inclusion criteria. Although the deviation was unintentional, enrolling them posed ethical and regulatory concerns. I immediately escalated the issue to the PI and sponsor. The participants' well-being was evaluated, and they were withdrawn safely from the study. I submitted a protocol deviation report and helped the site implement corrective actions, including retraining staff on eligibility criteria. This situation reinforced my commitment to ethical research conduct, transparent reporting, and prioritizing participant safety above all. Ethical vigilance ensures trust in clinical trial integrity. 19. How do you handle conflicts between study sponsors, investigators, or regulatory bodies? Conflicts are addressed professionally through clear, respectful communication and collaborative problem-solving. I listen to all parties to understand concerns, then refer to the study protocol, regulatory requirements, and contractual agreements for guidance. For disagreements about study conduct or reporting, I may involve a neutral third party or ethics board. I keep detailed records of all discussions and proposed resolutions. Maintaining transparency and prioritizing participant safety and data integrity help build trust and minimize tension. Effective conflict resolution also involves emotional intelligence, diplomacy, and a shared commitment to clinical trial success. 20. Tell us about a time when a clinical trial did not go as planned. How did you adapt and what did you learn? In one trial, patient recruitment was significantly below target due to strict eligibility criteria and limited site engagement. I collaborated with the sponsor and medical team to reassess recruitment strategies, amend inclusion criteria with IRB approval, and onboard additional high-performing sites. I also worked with existing sites to boost motivation through additional training and support. These adjustments led to improved enrollment and maintained data quality. This experience taught me the importance of adaptability, proactive problem-solving, and stakeholder collaboration. Clinical trials are dynamic, and successful execution depends on flexible strategies and continuous process evaluation. Thank you for watching Top 20 Clinical Researcher Interview Questions and Answers. We hope this helps you succeed. Stay confident, keep learning, and good luck with your upcoming interview.